Okay, so in this tutorial, I'm going to just introduce you guys to the program Inkscape. So, oh darn, I should have, well, that's okay. So Inkscape is a free downloadable program. You just Google it, Inkscape, and you can download it for Mac or PC. And in this video, I'm just going to show you like just some basic stuff about doing vector line drawing. And so the most important tool in here that I'm going to show you is this Bezier curve pen thing. And what this lets you do is draw these like smooth paths and these curves that you can really easily edit afterwards. So for this demo, since I'm a medical educator, I'm going to try to draw a cartoon bacteria for you guys. I'll make it a bacillus. So I'm going to draw its body. So I just tap, and then see it's going to let me draw. And if I tap again and hold down the mouse, it lets me create whatever kind of curve I want. And so I'm going to just curve it like that, and then see it's already almost like a rubber band or something. It's going to kind of pull along that curve, which we can also modify later. And so I'm just going to kind of, and the more I stretch it out, the more kind of like smooth that curve will be versus more acute. And if I'm doing this right, you're going to be able to see when my mouse is touching with that little circle around or whatever. So I created this kind of bacillus bean shape here, and that'll be the creature's body. And to just tell you about the basic ways you can edit this, so I was on this drawing tool, the Bezier. I'm going to click on the arrow or the select tool. I think if I hit the letter S, yeah, it's programmed to, if I hit the letter S, it goes to that. If I hit B, it goes back to the Bezier. Okay, so select or hit the arrow. And this lets me move stuff around, which is pretty cool. And then I want to modify it. Like I want to color it in, or I want to make the lines thicker, whatever I want to do. So I want to make this like kind of a pseudomonas, like a cyan colored bug with nice thick outlines so that it's really clear. So there should be a tab somewhere. Your screen might look different. This might be moved around in different, oops, it might be moved in different places. And now I'm messing everything up. But, oh, Jesus. Oh, it's so simple. But yoink. But anyway, if you don't have this fill and stroke tab somewhere, you should find the button on the side panel here. And so anyway, so once that's available to you, you can change the fill color, the stroke, which is the line color, and then the thickness of the line. So for fill, I'm going to fill it with a, right now it's black. I'm going to make it like cyan in here somewhere, like a teal. That's a good Pseudomonas color. Maybe a little more greenish. Yeah, that's about the color of Pseudomonas cellulitis, right? Okay. And then I'm going to leave the line color black with stroke paint here. And then I'm going to do a stroke style, and I'm going to increase this thickness by just kind of holding this up and down tool, or I could put in another number. But I'm just going to kind of boop, 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 boop. And you see on the screen here, the line around the bacteria is getting darker. Yay. Okay, so there you go. The end. That's our first shape. So now I want to give it a flagellum, and I'm going to, just for the sake of teaching you guys, make this a separate layer so that you can see how having different layers of your picture lets you manipulate things and hide things and show things more easily. So I lost my thing because I was messing around, but if I go to this View Layers button, okay, whew, geez, I don't know what the deal was there. Okay, great. So sorry about that. So I have my layers here, and right now we have layer 1, and I'm going to actually double click this and call it, bacillus body. And then I'm going to add a new layer called, and say I want it above the current layer, and you could always move it later too. And I'll call this flagellum, or the tail. And right now it's sitting on top of the body. Okay, so I'm in the so I can toggle between these, and so I'm going to make sure my flagellum layer is selected, and I'm going to go back to my Bezier tool, And I'm going to draw a flagellum that he's going to be kind of sitting on. So let's make it look kind of like this. Joink, joink. And make it kind of get thicker as it goes here. I'm not doing it perfectly, but the great thing about this program is if I want to make these lines better and less kindergarten-y, I can kind of do that later. Okay. Great. So I'm going to click my arrow tool here now, the select tool, and I'm going to fill this with a different color. Let's make it like a little bit more of a blue. Oh, that's nice. And I'm going to make the lines a little thicker like I did for the other part. Just kind of raise that up a bit. Whoops. Oop, too much. Yeah, if you hold it down, it kind of jumps. Okay. Cool. So now we have our body. And look, you know, when I'm on my arrow tool, if I click the body, it goes to the bacillus body layer. And if I click this object, it says, but this object's in the flagellum layer. And the good thing about having two layers is, let's say you're doing more work in each layer and you want to have, say, okay, I want to just see the tail and work on that. You can actually close the eye icon here on the body, and now you just have the tail. Or you can get rid of the tail, blind it, and keep just the body. Okay, let's put them both back. And let's say, what if I decide, hey, wait a minute, I didn't want the tail in front. I want the tail behind the body to be sticking out the back. Well, then you can select the layer you want to move down, and you can click and drag, or you can use these arrows and say, move it down, boop, or move it up, boop. I like it in front. But anyway, that's how you do that. Another thing I can show you, I suppose, is what if you're not happy with the way this tail turned out, like the lines are kind of wobbly. Well, this next thing, if it's actually the N, the letter N for nodes, edit paths by nodes. So if I click this or hit N, it'll bring me to this thing. And then see how when I put my mouse over one of these without clicking it, just put my mouse over it, the line kind of lights up in red. That's giving me the chance to select it. And so I'm clicking on the tail, and I'm actually going to zoom in. I want to look at this a little closer. And so I can either just click down here where the view is, raise it from 70% to 100, or I happen to know that if I hit the plus sign, or actually the equal sign, on my keyboard, that'll zoom in for me as well. So I'm zooming in nice and closely. And one thing I could just do is now I can pick any, if I click on that point, look, now I have all these things about the curve. I can move the actual point, or I can change this thingy, I forget what they're called, the tangents, and decide like how strong that curve should be, how twisty it should be, so you can just play around with it. And so I'm just going to kind of work on this a bit and get these just kind of nice and more sleek looking. And you'll just get used to this over time. At first it's kind of mind-bending to be thinking in terms of these curves and stuff, but it really gets easier very quickly. Now, what if you have something that you want to make a perfect curve? Like you have a weird point or something. You can actually change the type of point it is, and I always forget, but one of these, yeah, see that? It makes it almost like a perfect curve. So these are some automated things where, like, if your thing's all twisty. So the take-home point for that is the fun thing about drawing with these kinds of tools, with the Bezier tool, is then you can always go back and edit any point you make. And so it's a little dummy-proof in that aspect, because I don't have to be the best artist in the world. As long as I get the basic shapes and the basic perspective, I can just keep moving these points around and troubleshooting until it looks right. And so that's very freeing, and you end up with this really clean, kind of professional, cartoony look, versus just like a pen or some kind of scribbly looking thing. And I think I'll stop there for now, and then I'll start a second video where we do some other more complicated stuff, making the character's face.